If you're heading off to certain European destinations this summer, some areas have recently faced protests and new measures which aim to combat the issue of over-tourism. Visitors from abroad can bring a lot of money to these hotspots, but in some areas, locals are growing tired of the effects of mass tourism on housing, jobs and natural resources. Because of this, being aware of the potential atmosphere before you go is crucial, so we've put together a list of the European destinations where measures have been taken to combat excessive tourism, and the upcoming plans put in place to do so. Barcelona. This Spanish city is a firm favorite amongst tourists due to its historical sites, museums, food scene and music. However, protesters recently took to the streets of La Rambla to demand governmental control on over-tourism, demanding that visitors go home. They even came armed with water guns on Saturday, July 6 to drench bewildered diners on the street, with the angry residents confronting bar owners and tourists. It was announced earlier this month that short-term rentals in Barcelona could be phased out by 2028, a move which is hoped will cause more properties to return to the local housing market. Housing in Barcelona has become unaffordable for many residents, with rent prices rising by 68% over the past decade. Amsterdam. This popular city is often where people choose to go for party holidays, such as Stag and Hendas. However, in recent times, it has tried to get a handle on party and drug tourism, with a campaign launched to deter these groups. The Stay Away campaign kicked off last year, particularly aimed at men aged 18 to 35. The online ads show drunken young men being arrested, handcuffed and having their mugshots taken, in a bid to highlight the dangers of drugs and alcohol. The scheme aims to clean up Amsterdam's reputation as being a rowdy party city. In April this year, Amsterdam also announced a ban on new hotels being built, in a bid to combat mass tourism. A new hotel can only be built in Amsterdam if another one closes. Canary Islands. Ever a popular holiday destination for Brits, the Canary Islands, including Tenerife, Lanzarote, Gran Canaria and Fuerteventura, have begun to crack down on over-tourism. The month of April saw hundreds of people take to the streets in the Canaries' main towns to call for a revamp of the tourism strategy and a freeze on visitor numbers, arguing that the current model is making life unaffordable and unsustainable for locals. However, it's worth noting that these protests are not against tourists themselves, but rather the tourism model. An estimated 13.9 million people visited the islands last year. Greece. The picturesque town of Athens is another place where locals are growing tired of the effects of over-tourism. Over the past few months, anti-tourism graffiti has started to appear in the Greek capital, with messages such as "Tourists go home and burn Airbnb" seen on the streets. Taxi drivers also announced a 24-hour strike which kicked off on July 11 over a draft tourism bill, with hospitality workers also expected to strike on July 12 as they demand better pay and working conditions. Tourist guides are also staging a strike over this new draft bill, which is currently under deliberation in Parliament, and it was set to include a demonstration in front of the Parliament building in Athens also on July 11. Balearic Islands. Protests were held in several holiday hotspots in the Balearic Islands earlier this year, such as Majorca and Menorca, where locals are said to be growing tired of the party atmosphere in places such as Ibiza. Locals are calling for more controls to be placed on holiday accommodation in order to make rent more affordable for people who actually live there. Another protest has been scheduled in Palma, Majorca for July 21, which coincides with the first week of the summer holidays. Beginning at 7 p.m. in park stations, the demonstration has been organized by the group Menos Tourism, Més Vida, Less Tourism, More Life. It's aimed at disrupting tourism in the popular hotspot, Venice. This Italian hotspot recently introduced a daily fee for visitors to pay in order to gain access to the city. However, this was met with some hostility, with protesters reportedly clashing with police and claiming we don't live in a theme park. The €5 payment is charged to all visitors in an effort to combat excessive tourism. It applies to day visitors going into the Old Town between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m., with overnight visitors also being charged a tourist tax. The project is currently running as a pilot until mid-July to see if it's actually effective, but Venice residents and people who were born there are exempt from paying. If you want ideas and inspiration to plan your next UK adventure plus selected offers and competitions, sign up for our 2 Chill weekly newsletter here.